Welcome to Just Minding My Business Radio, where we are moving at the speed of God, learning what we didn't know we didn't know. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
So grab a pen and paper and get ready for information that you can use. Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media, LLC. We're happy that you joined us today. Broaden the scope of exposure for your business by going beyond the interview. Learn more at www.jmmbmediallc.com or email us at jmmbradio@gmail.com. Today, I am happy to bring all the way from Australia business coach Neil Livingstone, who specializes in helping business owners who struggle with people problems, showing them how to build and manage a quality team with tangible results in less than 90 days. Welcome to the show, Neil.
Oh, thank you. That was a nice introduction.
Yes, in 90 days? What do you have, a magic wand?
No, I wish I did. I don't have a magic wand. No, but yeah, 90 days. That's right.
Okay, so you already know. We want to know, how do you do that?
Well, it's not just me. It's obviously the business owner I work with. So, when I work with someone, I have to make sure that they are really wanting to get the results that you just so eloquently described. And it is a bit of work to get people, from not having a good team around them to having a good team around them. Some people have got good people and not so good people. So a different place, and then we do a bit of an audit, and then we get cracking.
Okay. So when companies come to you, what are some of the things that you've experienced? Companies say they want a certain atmosphere, but sometimes they don't really define it well. So how do you really pinpoint the needs of the company?
Yeah, the most typical example or situation that people are in when they come to me is they've usually been in business for a few years or more. They might have, between 10 and 100 employees, and they've actually had quite a bit of success in getting their business from the starting point to what I call the first step, where they've attracted customers, they've worked out how to do that pretty well, and they've tried to build a team, but they haven't had the same degree of success in building a team that they have in finding customers. And typically that starts to hinder their ability to service their customers, and they slow down, they hit the skids, so to speak. And they realize, that the saying that I always say is very true, is that no one in the history of business has ever attained true wealth without first surrounding themselves with a good team. And when people come to me, they usually have learned that the hard way.
Yes, more than likely, because a lot of companies look at skill sets in terms of, the functions of the job, but they don't really look at personalities. So how do you get them to focus on that part of the hiring process?
That's so true. For some reason, unbeknownst to me, people look for technical skills or industry skills. And usually I think it's because they don't want to train people. They want people to just jump straight into a job and do the perfect job. And you and I know that rarely happens. So the things that I look for in people are more value attribute based things. And the number one thing that I'm looking for is a person is action orientated. If you look at success in business, all success in business is rooted in action. So that's why action orientation or proactive people are so critical to your organization. And the second attribute that I look for is that something motivates them. So in the interview process, there are 9 areas that I look for that typically make someone tick. And I'll give you a couple of examples just to illustrate my point. It could be money. A lot of people are driven, primarily by money, and there's nothing wrong with that. If I look back at my early career, I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers out of high school, and at that time, money was not driving me. It was the training that I knew that I would get with PricewaterhouseCoopers and an overseas posting after I did my degree.
Mm-hmm.
So different things drive different people, and the key is, as an employer, you need to find out what that is, and everybody's different, and you need to make sure that whatever that is, it motivates them a lot. Right. So there is nothing. I find it very difficult to get results out of an employee that they like and is good for the employer if they're not motivated by what drives them. So they're the two things that I'm really looking for, which is an action-orientated person and someone that has very clear points of motivation that I can use to help them and align and give them what they want and align that with an outcome for the business as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And those companies that don't do that, those are probably the people that you have you have to come in and sort of clean up the atmosphere of the company so that they can be more productive. So when you work with companies, what is your process? What is some of the processes that I'm sure you do like an initial interview, find out where they're going. So is there like group sessions or how's that work?
Yeah, so I work one-on-one and then in groups, uh, and the groups are like business owners. Um, and I find when you put 4 or 5 business owners together who all have the same problems, they collaborate and they also motivate each other to move forward. But to start with, it's one-on-one, and because I'm trying to get a real understanding of where they are on their journey, and I want to make sure that they are buying into the principles that we're going to be trying to implement in their business. It's I apply really the same principles to what I just said. I'm looking in terms of my clients. I'm looking for someone that's action orientated and has clear points of motivation that I can hook into and get results because I don't want to work with people and not get results.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, the first few weeks is really making sure that they understand what's important in building a team of people, making sure they're ready to do the work, and then we get stuck in. Now, the first area normally is recruitment, and a lot of people think they're okay with recruitment, but when we sort of start to really look under the microscope of what they're doing, they need a lot of work. So that's the first area that we really drill down on.
Yeah, and that would be very important because if you're going to be changing the mindset of the company, then you want to begin with the people you bring in from the door. I've been in situations where I'm very action oriented. I'm a team player, but I've worked in companies that did not see that in me, which was very frustrating.
Yeah, now you're getting into the realm of what I call leadership. Uh, so, what's very important for a business owner to realize that one of the critical elements to success is their own leadership and people skills. Good people, like going back to what I was saying before, you cannot attain true wealth without having good people around you,
Mhm.
and that includes yourself. You have to be good at leading people, good at communicating, and you can't fake this. The people that work for you need to care about, and you need to understand what success looks like for them, and make sure that they achieve the success that they want along the journey of you achieving success.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly.
I focus on the size companies that are sort of in that 10 to 100 employee range.
Okay.
And what the business owner's role in that business is so critical because it's small enough for the business owner to know everybody. So leadership or their leadership and how they approach their team is so critical to their overall success, not just in building a team and keeping the team, but in every aspect of the business.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think the bigger the company, the worse it is. So,
Yeah.
like you say, if you're dealing with a smaller team, it's a whole lot easier to bring in new concepts and work with people.
Yeah, it's funny. In my teens, my mum and dad were serial entrepreneurs, and they owned toy shops, and I worked in the toy shops in my school holidays, and they were amazing. I didn't know it at the time, but they were amazing at building a great team around them. Then I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, very different company, but also extremely amazing at building and developing good people and teams. And then I probably had a similar experience to what you were describing. I left PricewaterhouseCoopers and in my 30s worked for large corporations, and it was very impersonal. The qualities that I was appreciated for in my teens and my 20s, they didn't seem to value to the extent they should, and they didn't get as much out of me as when someone truly valued what I was doing and understood me and was giving me what I also saw as success. So I left that environment, and I do what I do because that's what I'm passionate about.
Yes, yes. So I know you're in Australia, but do you work with
Yeah.
companies remotely to help them with that?
Yeah, 90% of who I work with is outside of Sydney, Australia. So I work with people. If you're in a country that speaks English, then I can work with you. So it is all remote. We've all been through COVID, and we realise that working remotely and doing things and using technology is very possible today.
And that was one of the positive sides of COVID, was being able to be global and not leave your office or your house.
Yeah, and when I team people up in groups, I try wherever I can to mix up countries. So you're getting like-minded business owners, but you're getting a slightly different perspective and seeing, slightly different ways of doing things. And when you're dealing with people, I find that's people really enjoy understanding, a slightly different perspective.
Yeah, and now that you spoke about dealing with different countries,
Mm.
so that in itself is something different because the cultures are different. So what does that look like?
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like I learn a lot too. So you can have a conversation about recruitment, like we were talking about before, and the way that people recruit in different countries is quite different. Um,
Mhm.
and the online sites and how they work can be quite different, or the recruitment agents can be quite different. People, yeah, and there are actually 9 channels, recruitment channels that I get my clients to focus on. I just named probably the 2 biggest ones.
Mhm.
Not every channel is relevant for every country or every industry, but I find that most businesses don't adopt what's necessary now, which is called an omnipresent channel strategy, where you're going out into as many channels from a recruitment point of view as you can. So it's fun working through that with people from different countries because there is no one size fits all, and people really learn, what works. I'll give you a great example. One of the things I think that works pretty much in any industry and any country is doing a video of your employees talking about why they like working for your business. Um,
Mm.
Usually it's short 10 to 15-second grabs, um, and you might go through, say, 7, 8, 9, 10 employees, and it's uncanny when you film them doing this. They come up with the same reasons, well, very similar reasons why they like working for you, and you can put that together in a video. You can do it in a very authentic way,
Mhm.
and that is a great tool for putting on your website, um, going out into social media, putting it into LinkedIn, all the different 9 channels that I talked about, and that really it really resonates with applicants, particularly good applicants.
Speaking of recruiting, now what people do, they research the company that
That's right.
just like the company is checking you out, the applicants is checking the companies out. And if they have a bad review,
Yeah,
it's not
it's
going to
it's
look.
no different to buying a product or service. Candidates do exactly the same thing. They do their research. everybody's favorite radio station is WIIFM, which means what's in it for me. And yeah, and how you stand out is you tap into that. You get to the bottom of what motivates a person, and then you talk in their language, and then you run a really, really good recruitment process, a professional recruitment process that moves at speed. Because when someone goes through a recruitment process, that's the only opportunity they have to understand your business. And if you're a good candidate, you have options. You're going through numerous different experiences. So you want your experience that you're giving them to stand out. You want to come across as a good leader. That's probably the final missing piece that I help bring, so that you can have the best recruitment process in the world. But if that good candidate doesn't see you as a good leader, because good people like working for good people. When you bring that together with that omnipresent strategy, it takes your recruitment to a new level. And what happens is that you start to move from a scarcity mindset when it comes to finding good people to an abundance mindset, and you have choice. And that's when you can really improve the overall quality of your team. So when you've got 3 or 4 people, or a stream of people coming to you, you've got choice, and then you can recruit ahead of the curve, or you can use the opportunity to bring a good person in and either motivate people that aren't performing, or if you have to, replace them.
Wow. So if people want to work with you, companies want to work with you, how do they reach you?
Yeah, the best way to reach me is just LinkedIn. So if you search Neil Livingstone, you will find me. My business name is also CFO Advisory, and on my LinkedIn site, there's a couple of free tools that I always encourage people to look at. So I've got a free masterclass where I dive in and show you exactly how I do help people in that first 90 days. And I've also got an ebook, a free ebook there. And once you've looked at those, you really understand how I can help. And if you want to go to the next step, then there's links in those documents to schedule a time in my diary and get on a call.
Yeah. Leadership is so important. And there's so many different leadership styles. And some are good and some are not so good. So when you're working in the leadership realm of things, because I know you assess what's going on with the leader, and I'm sure you feel some type of something that needs to be changed in each leader. So how do you address that?
Yeah, the first thing that you address is identify whether they have any self-limiting beliefs around people. And it's uncanny how often that there are some self-limiting beliefs there. So a lot of business owners, like I said, they have the success in selling their product or service, but they haven't had a lot of training in how to be a leader or to how to manage people. And then they've had some mixed results in that area, and they start to believe that they're not good people managers, and they start to believe that they can't keep good people, they can't find good people, they can't talk to good people. So that's the first thing that you need to address. And then that 90-day program that I put them through is really showing them how they can manage people, and they are, they have it inside of them that they can do this. So you address that. We work on some people's communication. There's no faking dealing with people. People are smart. If you don't have empathy and you don't care for the people that you're employing, they're going to work that out. So that has to be there. And then there is some, and once that foundation is there, Ida, it's about implementing systems in those 9 channels to bring the right people in, and then we cover onboarding, and then we cover retention.
Wow. And in 90 days, they're able to start to implement all of these different strategies.
Absolutely. The 90 days is mainly about recruitment, because depending on what you're starting with, you're going to need to recruit people. A little known, I wouldn't call it a secret, but a little known tip or strategy that I typically start with is I ask someone whether they have a good 2IC, a good second in charge in their business. Remember, the size of businesses I'm dealing with are usually in that 10 to 100 employees. And if you go back into the history of successful businesses. You might, know the famous entrepreneur that ran it, or like Bill Gates or Richard Branson. But if you go back to all of those examples, they have great 2ICs, right? So that are good with people. And sometimes they co-found and start together, but more often what happens is the first owner that's not that naturally gifted with people finds someone that is a good 2IC along, somewhere early in the journey. And that partnership is what propels them to that next stage. So if they don't have that type of person in their business, and it can be it can be an executive assistant, if the business is small, and it doesn't even have to be full time, and that can range to a full time, quite senior 2IC. So typically, that's the first thing that I address in terms of building that team, is getting that person in there that's going to help you in this area.
Yes, you got to have that people person, because at the end of the day, nothing works without people.
That's true. So true.
This is very interesting, because as businesses are constantly evolving or getting started, a lot of times they don't think about any of this. They just think about sales in the very beginning days. Now, do you work with startups?
I do. Yeah, I do, if they're well capitalized, and they believe in then that this is important. Absolutely, I do. It's always good getting this in place from the start. It's much easier to do from the start.
Yes.
So so yeah, if we have common values and they understand it's important, absolutely, I do.
Okay. Yeah, because I think most of the time it doesn't happen in the beginning unless the person is really focused on that, or they understand the value of it.
You're right, though. Most people don't focus. Most people, when they start a business, they are experts in that product or service. They're really, really good, and that's why they enjoy some initial success. And they see people as an irritation or a problem that's something they've never been able to solve. It's a bit of a mystery to them, and they can just, no matter what they do, they can't get it right. But it's because they don't know what they don't know. And a lot of cases, they are their biggest enemy in this area. So, I come in and we do it, like I said, we do a bit of an audit of where they're at, both in terms of their team and themselves. Make sure that they understand and buy into the journey, and then we go hard. I look for action orientated people, because I'm very action orientated, and I love getting results and moving quickly. And once people see those, little results, you get the low hanging fruit out of the
Yes.
way. They really buy into it as well, and it just feeds itself.
Yes, exactly. Once you see things happening, that just motivates people to
Yeah,
keep going, for sure.
that's what.
Give me some of the experiences, maybe one or two experiences that you've had in turning
Yeah,
the company around.
yeah. I'll talk about my largest client. So it's a furniture import business. I've been working for them for many years now, and it's owned by an Indian gentleman, Australian Indian gentleman called Ritesh, and he is such a gentleman, but he's very introverted. So when I first started, well, he's not so much now, but when I first started working with him, he didn't have a team around him. He had employees all at a quite junior level. Everybody reported to him, and he was so busy. There was no delegation happening, not a lot of leadership. Very, very nice person. So he was actually quite well liked, but people could see that he wasn't managing the business like he should. So we just took it step by step. Number one, I talked to him about what the journey would look like, and make sure he wanted to do it, he understood it, and he believed in it, and he absolutely did. He knew he had this problem, and one by one we built. There's probably 7 or 8 key people that he needed. He runs a furniture import business, so logistics is very important to him. Finance is very important to him. Sales is very important to him. Customer service is very important to him, and so on. and we just tackled each area one by one. We found a really good person, and now he's got an absolute rock star team. All of his team love him. All of his customers love him. He's tripled in size. His profits more than tripled.
Wow.
He's actually got a bit of a life. He's a cricket fan like me, so we actually get time to go and even see the cricket together. And I've done that for many, many people. So it's not rocket science. It's just a bit of hard work. It's a bit of action. It's a bit of belief, a bit of leadership. Mix all that in, and depending on what your starting position, it really is, how long it takes you to get there.
Yes, and then really, like you said, your client recognized that he had a problem. And
he did. He was working, 80-hour weeks and just not getting to everything. He had those self-limiting beliefs, and now he's an amazing leader. He does a fortnightly video out to all his staff, which
wow.
He would have nightmares about doing that when we first started. So and people are alive when they come to work. We're all understanding what we're trying to achieve. We want to be number one at what we do, and the communication within the business is so much better than what it was. Communication is an absolutely critical part of a business. You just got to keep communicating. Often people assume that they've said something and people get it, and they don't. Or they haven't fully got it. You got to make sure quite a few times.
Yes.
And that's what I learned at PwC. The training you get in terms of how you communicate, and I'm very grateful for that background that I got, and that's what I bring into people that I work with.
Neil, this has been very eye-opening. So again, how do companies reach out to you?
Yeah, like I said, just find me on LinkedIn, and there's some really good free tools there. There's a masterclass where I go into a lot of this in a lot more detail, and there's an ebook there which also goes into what we're talking about. And then if that resonates with you, there's links there that you can book some time in my diary, and we get on a call and we have a bit of a chat like we're having now. And if it feels good, then we get you going on that program.
Thank you so much, Neil. Being here at 8:00 in the morning, your time.
Yeah, it's Saturday here too. It's Saturday.
Oh, it's Saturday too. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you. I know our audience will appreciate you as well. So thank you for sharing your wisdom with our audience. We appreciate it and looking forward to more collaborations.
Thanks, Ida. You're welcome anytime.
Yes, and thank you, audience. We appreciate you as well.
Thank you for tuning in to Just Minding My Business Radio. I'm your host, Ida Crawford.
And I'm your co-host, Ruth Haskins.
We hope you enjoyed the show and appreciate you stopping by. Many blessings to you and yours.